I'm sitting here on my porch, watching the sun go down over the mountains, and I can't help but think about that day. The day everything changed. The day a little girl with $5 and more courage than sense walked into my camp and broke my heart wide open. My name is William Wolfe Carson, and I'm 79 years old now, but this story takes place 47 years ago, when I was 32 and one of the most dangerous men in Colorado Territory. They called me Wolf because I was cold, ruthless, and hunted alone when I needed to. I'd robbed banks, trains, and stagecoaches. I'd done things I'm not proud of, things that still wake me up at night sometimes. But before I tell you about the worst things I did, let me tell you about the best thing that ever happened to me. Let me tell you about Ruby and her sister, Rose. It was August of 1876, and the heat was something fierce. My gang had just hit the Colorado Springs Bank, made off with $8,000 in gold and cash. We were hiding out in the mountains, in a canyon so remote that even the eagles had trouble finding it. I was counting money by the campfire when my lookout, a young kid named Pete, came running. "Boss, Wolf, there's someone coming up the trail." I was on my feet in an instant, hand on my gun. "How many?" Just one, boss, but you ain't gonna believe this." "Spit it out, Pete." "It's a little girl, can't be more than 8 or 9 years old, and she's alone." My blood ran cold. A child, out here? This had to be a trap. The law had been trying to catch me for 5 years. Maybe they'd finally gotten desperate enough to use a kid as bait. "It could be a setup," I said to my men. "Everyone take positions, but don't shoot unless I give the word. If there's a child involved, we do this careful." I crouched behind a rock and watched the trail. 5 minutes later, I saw her. She was the tiniest thing, a little girl with long red hair and 2 braids, wearing a simple brown dress that was torn and dirty. Her face was sunburned, and I could see tear tracks through the dust on her cheeks. But what struck me most was her eyes, green as emeralds, and filled with a determination that seemed way too small for such a small body. She walked right into our camp like she owned the place, past 4 armed outlaws, and stopped in the middle of the clearing. "I'm looking for Wolfe Carson," she called out in a small but steady voice. I stood up slowly, keeping my hand near my gun. "I'm Wolfe Carson. Who are you, little girl?" She turned to face me, and I got my first good look at her. She was bone thin, like she hadn't eaten properly in weeks. Her dress was patched in a dozen places. Her boots had holes in them, but she held her head high. "I'm Ruby Patterson, and I need your help." "How did you find this place? Who sent you?" "Nobody sent me. I tracked you. After you robbed the bank 2 days ago, I saw which direction you rode. I followed your tracks." I felt a chill go down my spine. This 8-year-old child had tracked a gang of outlaws through mountain wilderness, alone? "Where are your parents?" I asked. Her lip trembled just for a second. "Papa died 3 years ago. Mama died last winter from the consumption. It's just me and my sister now." "Your sister? Where is she?" "Home, in our cabin. That's why I'm here." Ruby reached into her pocket and pulled out a small leather pouch. She opened it and showed me $5 coins. "This is everything we have in the whole world. I'll give you all of it if you help my sister." I stared at those 5 silver dollars. $5. We'd just stolen 8,000. "What's wrong with your sister?" I asked, my voice softer now. Ruby's eyes filled with tears. "Her name is Rose. She's my twin. We're exactly the same age, born just 10 minutes apart. And she's hurt real bad. We need a doctor, but the doctor in town says he won't come unless we pay him $20 up front. I only have 5. "What happened to her?" Ruby took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice shook. 3 weeks ago, Mr. Jameson came to our cabin. He owns the big ranch next to our land. He said Papa owed him money before he died, and now we have to pay. But we don't have any money. We barely have food. When we said we couldn't pay, he got angry. He said if we won't pay with money, we'll pay another way. He said—" She stopped, her voice breaking. He said Rose was pretty enough to work off the debt in his saloon. My jaw clenched. I knew exactly what that meant, and so did this little girl, even if she wasn't too old to fully understand it. Rose said no. She told him to leave, so he grabbed her, tried to drag her out of the cabin. Rose fought him. She bit his hand and scratched his face, so he picked up Papa's old belt, the one with the big buckle, and She couldn't finish. She was crying too hard. I knelt down in front of her. Did he beat her? I asked gently. Ruby nodded, sobbing. He beat her so bad, on her back, her arms, her legs, the buckle cut her skin open. There's so much blood, and now the cuts are getting infected. She's got fever. She can't even stand up. She just lies there, crying and burning up with fever. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Rage. Pure, hot rage. But not the cold, selfish rage that had made me an outlaw. This was different. This was protective, righteous. "How old did you say you were?" I asked gently. 8. Both of us. We just turned 8 last month. 8 years old. The same age my daughter would have been if she'd lived. I stood up and called to my men. "Pete, saddle my horse and the spare. Marcus, get the medical supplies." "Boss, what are you doing?" asked Colt, my second in command. "I'm going to help this little girl." "Are you crazy? This could be a trap, and even if it ain't, why risk ourselves for some kid?" I walked right up to Colt and looked him dead in the eye. "Because I'm the boss, and I say so. Anyone got a problem with that?" Nobody spoke. I turned back to Ruby. "Keep your $5. I don't want your money. I'm going to help your sister because it's the right thing to do. But I need you to tell me something first. Where does this Jameson live?" "He's got a big ranch about 5 miles south of our cabin. Big house, lots of men working for him." "Good. I'll remember that." I held out my hand to her. "Come on, Ruby, let's go save your sister." Her whole face lit up like the sun breaking through storm clouds. "Really? You mean it?" "I mean it. But first, when's the last time you ate?" She thought about it. "Yesterday morning. We had some old bread."
This child had walked through mountains for 2 days tracking outlaws, all on an empty stomach. I gave her jerky and hardtack, made her drink water. While she ate, I noticed her hands, covered in cuts and blisters from climbing rocks. Her feet must have been worse. "Ruby," I said quietly, "you're the bravest person I've ever met, you know that?" She looked up at me with those green eyes. "I'm not brave, I'm scared. I've been scared this whole time, but Rose is my sister, my twin. She's the other half of me. If she dies, part of me dies too, so I had to do something, even if I was scared." Those words hit me like a bullet. 20 minutes later, we were riding through the mountains. Ruby sat in front of me on my horse, so small I could barely feel her weight. She fell asleep almost immediately, her head resting against my chest, completely exhausted. As we rode, I couldn't stop thinking, couldn't stop feeling. That crack in my heart from earlier had split wide open. I thought about my own daughter. Her name was Lily. She died when she was 4 years old from scarlet fever. My wife, Margaret, died a year later from a broken heart. That's what the doctor said, anyway. She just couldn't live without our baby girl. That was 8 years ago. 8 years since I'd lost everything. 8 years since I'd turned my back on everything good and become Wolf Carson, the outlaw. I'd told myself I didn't care anymore, that my heart was dead, that nothing mattered except taking what I wanted and hurting the people who'd let my family die. But this little girl in my arms, this brave, desperate little girl willing to give everything to save her sister, she was proving me wrong. She was showing me that my heart wasn't dead after all. It was just sleeping, and now it was waking up, and it hurt. We reached the Patterson cabin just before dark. It was the smallest, saddest little place I'd ever seen. 1 room, barely standing, with a roof that looked like it might collapse any minute. This is where 2 8-year-old orphans were trying to survive alone. Ruby woke up as we dismounted. "Rose is inside," she whispered. I followed her through the door, and the smell hit me first. Blood and infection and sickness. The cabin was dark and hot, with just 1 narrow bed in the corner. On that bed lay a little girl who looked exactly like Ruby, Same red hair, same thin face, same green eyes. But where Ruby looked determined, this girl looked broken. She was lying on her stomach, barely conscious, her breathing shallow. "Rose," Ruby whispered, kneeling by the bed. "Rose, I'm back. I brought help." The girl's eyes opened slightly. "Ruby, you came back?" "I'll always come back. I brought a man to help us. His name is Mr. Carson." Those girls' fevered eyes found me. "Are you the doctor?" "No, sweetheart, but I'm going to get you help." I lit the lamp, and that's when I saw her back. Oh, God, her back. I'd seen a lot of terrible things in my life. I'd seen men shot, stabbed, beaten. I'd seen violence and cruelty, but I'd never seen anything that made me feel like this. Her entire back was covered in cuts and welts from the belt buckle, deep gashes that had bled and were now infected, the skin around them red and angry. Some of the cuts were so deep I could see muscle underneath. The whole thing was a mass of torn flesh and dried blood, and she was 8 years old. I felt tears on my face before I even realized I was crying. I, Wolf Carson, the hardened outlaw who hadn't cried in 8 years, was standing there with tears running down my cheeks. "What did this to you?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Mr. Jameson," Rose whispered, "because I wouldn't go with him." That was it. That was the moment. The moment I stopped being Wolf Carson the outlaw and became something else, something better, or maybe something worse, depending on how you looked at it. I cleaned Rose's back as gently as I could, using the medical supplies I'd brought. She screamed and cried through the whole thing, and Ruby held her hand and cried with her. Every time Rose cried out in pain, something inside me broke a little more. When I was done, I bandaged her as best I could, but I knew this was beyond my skill. She needed a real doctor. "Ruby, where's the doctor?" "In town, Copper Ridge, about 8 miles east. And he wants $20? "Yes, sir." I pulled out a leather pouch from my saddlebag, my share of the bank robbery. I poured it out on the table, $200 in gold coins. Ruby's eyes went wide. That's so much money." "This is what I'm going to do," I said. "I'm going to ride to town right now and get that doctor. I'm going to pay him $50 to come here immediately. Then I'm going to leave you girls with enough money to buy food, clothes, supplies, everything you need for the next year. Understood?" But why? Why are you helping us so much?"
I knelt down so I could look both girls in the eyes. Because a long time ago, I had a little girl. She died when she was 4 years old. If she'd lived, she'd be 8 now, just like you two. And if she'd needed help, I'd hope someone would help her. "What was her name?" Rose whispered. "Lily." "That's a pretty name," Ruby said softly. "She was a pretty girl, like you two." I stood up. "Now I need to go get the doctor. Ruby, you stay with your sister. I'll be back before morning." "Mr. Carson?" Ruby said. "What about Mr. Jameson? What if he comes back?" I looked at her, and something dark must have shown in my face because she took a step back. "Mr. Jameson," I said quietly, "is not going to be a problem anymore." I rode to Copper Ridge and found the doctor's house. I pounded on his door until he answered, looking annoyed. "What is it? Do you know what time?" He stopped when he saw my face and my gun. "You're going to come with me right now," I said calmly. "There's a little girl who needs help. I'll pay you $50, and if you refuse, I'll drag you there anyway." Yes, of course. Let me get my bag." We rode back to the cabin together. The doctor worked on Rose for over an hour, cleaning the wounds properly, giving her medicine for the infection and fever. "She'll live," he finally said, "but these scars, she'll carry these for the rest of her life. What kind of monster does this to a child?" "The kind that won't be doing it again," I said. After the doctor left, I sat with the girls. I gave them the money, showed Ruby where the nearest town was to buy supplies, made sure they knew how to care for Rose's wounds. As the sun started to rise, I knew I had to leave. But first, I pulled out those $5 silver Ruby had tried to give me. "I want you to keep these," I said, pressing them into Ruby's hand. Keep 'em somewhere safe, and when you're grown, you tell your children about the day you climbed a mountain to save your sister. You tell 'em that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right, even when you are scared." "Are you leaving?" Ruby asked, tears in her eyes. "I have to, but first, I have one more thing to do." "What?" I stood up and put on my hat. "I'm going to visit Mr. Jameson." Ruby's eyes went wide. "What are you going to do to him?" "I'm going to make sure he never hurts another child again." I rode to Jameson's ranch just as the sun came up. He was a big man, wealthy, with a fancy house and a dozen men working for him, the kind of man who thought his money made him untouchable. I walked right up to his front door and kicked it open. He was in his office, drinking morning coffee. When he saw me, he reached for a gun in his desk drawer. "I wouldn't," I said, my own gun already drawn. "Who the hell are you?" he snarled. "My name is Wolf Carson, and you hurt 2 little girls." His face went pale. He knew my name. Everyone in Colorado Territory knew my name. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. "Yes, you do. 3 weeks ago, the Patterson twins. You tried to take one of them. When she fought back, you beat her with a belt buckle. You beat an 8-year-old girl until her back looked like raw meat. She owed me money. Her father is dead. She's a child, an orphan, and you tried to force her to work in your saloon to pay a debt she didn't know. It's legal. I have papers." I fired my gun. The bullet went right past his head and shattered the window behind him. He screamed and fell out of his chair. "Here's what's going to happen," I said calmly. "You're going to sign over that debt. You're going to leave those girls alone, forever. If I ever hear that you've gone near 'em, if I ever hear that you've even spoken their names, I will come back, and next time I won't miss. Understand?" He nodded frantically. "Good. Now sign the papers." He did, his hands shaking so bad he could barely hold the pen. I took the debt papers and burned them right there in his fireplace. "One more thing," I said. "You're going to leave Colorado. I don't care where you go, but you're not staying here. You've got 1 week. After that, if I find out you're still in the territory, you're a dead man." I left him there, crying and terrified, and rode back to the Patterson cabin. I gave the burned debt papers to Ruby. "It's over," I told her. "He's gone. He'll never hurt you again." Ruby threw her arms around me and hugged me tight. Thank you so much. You saved us. You saved Rose." I hugged her back, this brave little girl who'd saved me without even knowing it. "No, Ruby, you saved me." That was 47 years ago, and it changed everything. I couldn't go back to being an outlaw after that. Couldn't go back to robbing and stealing and hurting people, because every time I thought about it, I saw Ruby's face, heard her voice asking me for help, saw Rose's ruined back. 3 months later, I turned myself in, confessed to everything. The judge was surprised, but my lawyer argued that I'd shown remorse and had helped people. I got 15 years in prison instead of hanging. I served 12 years and got out early for good behavior, and the first place I went was back to that little cabin in the mountains. Except it wasn't there anymore. In its place was a nice house with a barn and a proper fence, and working in the garden were 2 young women, 19 years old, with red hair and green eyes. They saw me and came running. "Mr. Carson, you came back." Ruby and Rose had survived. They'd thrived. Using the money I'd left them, they'd fixed up the property, started a small ranch, even had a few horses. They'd grown into strong, smart, beautiful young women. "We never forgot you," Rose said. "Never forgot what you did for us. I checked on you through letters, made sure you were okay." "We know," Ruby said with a smile. "We always wondered who the anonymous person sending money was. Should have known it was you." They invited me to stay. I helped them run the ranch, taught them how to deal with trouble, how to protect themselves, became like a father to them, or maybe a grandfather. Both girls eventually married good men. Ruby married a doctor, of all things. Rose married a school teacher. They had children. I got to watch those children grow up. Rose's scars never fully healed. To this day, she's 55 years old now. She still has those marks on her back. But she tells people they're a reminder that she survived, that she's stronger than the person who tried to break her. And Ruby kept those $5 just like I told her to. She put 'em in a frame, and they hang in her house with a little sign that says, "The price of courage, the gift of love." I'm 79 years old now. I've lived more than 40 decades as an honest man. I helped build this community. I protected these people. I tried every single day to be the man that little 8-year-old girl believed I could be. My grandchildren, Ruby and Rose's children and grandchildren, are playing in the yard right now. I can hear 'em laughing. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. People sometimes ask me about my outlaw days, about the robberies and the violence and the running, but that's not the story I want to tell. The story I want to tell is about 2 8-year-old twin girls who survived the impossible, about Ruby, who climbed a mountain to save her sister, about Rose, who bore scars that would never heal, but refused to let them define her, and how their courage and their pain woke up something in me that I thought was dead forever. I was a bad man once. I did terrible things. I hurt people. I took things that didn't belong to me. And I can't undo any of that. But one little 8-year-old girl with $5 gave me a chance to be better, to do better, to become someone worth remembering for good reasons instead of bad ones. When I die, and that day's probably not too far off now, I hope Lily is waiting for me on the other side. I hope I can tell her I met 2 girls who reminded me of you, and they saved me. They brought me back from the darkness. That's the truth. That's my confession. That's my legacy. I was Wolf Carson, the outlaw, but Ruby and Rose Patterson made me into William Carson, the guardian, the protector, the grandfather. And that's who I want to be remembered as. Not the wolf, but the man who learned to be human again. All because an 8-year-old girl climbed a mountain with $5 and showed me that courage looks like a child protecting her sister, that love looks like sacrifice, that redemption is possible, even for men like me. Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, Rose. You saved more than your sister's life that day. You saved my soul.